Hey, sorry, I'm in a coffee shop right now. It's a little bit of background noise.
What are you going to be talking about?
Well, we're going to be talking about in this market, I think fix and flips, the margins are tight. Every seller wants top dollar. And I'm seeing hedge funds they're paying full retail value and going in there and rehabbing the house. So they're in above market value because they're playing a different model. They're buying houses to rent them out and hold them for long term. So it's hard to compete as an individual investor for that. But one thing I do know is that, empty lots here and here that can be developed with either mobile homes or single family homes, for some reason, when you take like a $30,000 lot and you slap a $100,000 home on there, you have a 30% profit margin, and you could pay almost full value for the mobile home. You could almost pay full value for the lot. In fact, the last several lots I bought, I have paid full value. But when you marry those two things together, it just creates instant equity out of thin air.
Yeah.
So, and then when the realtors go to market it for you, I love what one realtor said to a potential buyer. The realtor said, "This is new construction. New construction doesn't discount," because they were thinking about making a low offer. And when she said that, I was like, that's good. I'm going to write that down. So new construction doesn't. Yeah. What builder do you go to where they're building a new house where they negotiate the price? It's pretty much the price is the price, right?
So you're looking for these lots, you can build on the lot. If you put a new construction on there, you build the house, which is kind of like rehabbing, just not, I think people get scared of that. It's, people say, well, what's the rehab cost? It's the build cost. There's nothing there. So there's nothing to rehab. You're building. Right.
And sometimes it's easier to actually estimate your build cost than it is your rehab cost. I mean, aside from, in this world now, everything goes up astronomically. Every 2 months, you see a difference in price jump on anything from gasoline to a 2x4. But, new building, it's more justifiable on the back end than a rehab, because again, new construction doesn't discount. It costs what it costs. So you can always justify the price. So
developing lots, either for mobile homes or for new build construction.
Yeah,
and then
exactly that.
Okay, finding them, negotiating them, managing them, building them. What's the gist?
Yeah, it's I'll take them through the premise of why mobile homes, and then I'll take them through the premise of how to find them and how I find them and how they can do this in their own market. A lot of these southern states, people are going to be from around Virginia and the Carolinas. I mean, all through the southern states, mobile homes are really popular. And I'm going to show them how I find them, how they can strike a relationship with a dealer to get them, and what they need to look for when they're looking for a lot. And then walk them through the setup process. I have videos of when I went to the factory and I went through Clayton Homes, which is one of the largest factories. So I got actual video.
Top 3 reasons people should attend. What would you say?
To find a market where there's not as much competition as what they're doing now as a fix and flip guy, and to be able to create equity out of thin air. And probably the third point is, regardless of how old you are, doing this in a tax-free environment. You're doing it in their retirement plans. So it doesn't matter if you're 20, 30, 40, 50, or 60 like me. Everything I do now that I'm, in the IRA world, 59 and a half is like a very, that's a milestone age where, after that you can do something in your self-directed IRA, a real estate investment, and then make the profit in there and then pull it out tax-free. And they're gonna, there's a hedge fund calling me about one of my rental properties. They're killing me. They're all trying to buy my stuff up. And this is a perfect example. They want to pay me full market value, and the house is a Section 8 rundown piece of junk. So if they want to pay me full retail, I think I'm going to sell it. So
it's nice to have options.
Yeah. This wacky market we're in. Get it while you can get it.
Now, tell me about your background, because you go by the Millionaire Mailman, which you can tell there's a fascinating story behind that.
Yeah, there's it's all started to work. You know, I started as a letter carrier when I was just 19 years old. I met my wife at the post office at age 23, and she helped me reveal. She let me know that a mailman's salary was not going to cut the lifestyle that she expected. So I figured out I got to do something to make things work out differently here. So I started using, you know, the job that I felt really trapped in as a mailman. I used that as an asset because all day long, mailmen just around neighborhoods, they look at houses. And I took a couple seminars from John Schaub and Jack Miller and Jimmy Napier, the old original single family house guys that started this whole concept. And they helped me realize they're like, hey, you get to see people's mail. I mean, this goes back to 1985. So, you know, we didn't have internet then. We didn't even have cell phones, but we did have mail.
Yep.
So, you know, when someone was going into foreclosure, they would send out a late notice or a certified letter to somebody who was in default. And it was my job to go up to the door and knock on the door and talk to the owner face to face and deliver that letter. So that led to some very interesting conversations at people's front doors because I knew how to capitalize on my job. But I didn't want to lose my job because, you know, here I am, my uniform. So I'd say to the people after delivering them a certified letter from their mortgage company, I mean, we only know there's really one reason that people get a certified letter from their mortgage company. So I would say to them, listen, you know, I'd be interested in buying your house. I don't know if that works for you, but let me come back in my civilian clothes in the evening and let's, you know, I'd be delighted to talk to you about it. So that's how I got a lot of my deals. I took title subject to the mortgage and just started collecting houses. And by the time, that was when I was 25. By the time I was 35, I had about 3 dozen houses that were all on my mail routes. And then my wife said, you know, it's time to quit. You know, I had tenants calling me. I had rents I had to collect. I had repairs. I had turnover. And here I was still delivering the mail. So I quit my job at that point, went full time. So that's how I got started. But the whole Millionaire Mailman thing, it was, you know, I worked in a mostly, you know, blue collar, blue state environment. Working around those people, it was highly unionized and they weren't entrepreneurial at all. But people would go around teasing me saying, oh yeah, one day you're going to be the Millionaire Mailman. And then they started calling me that as like a kind of a condescending remark. But it actually, the name kind of stuck and I've had it ever since. So that's how I got
Any good
started.
nickname, it usually has a bit of an edge to it.
Yeah.
Somebody else names it. In this case, though, I happily take that, right? That's, you know, look who's
Yeah.
laughing now.
Well, the name sparks interest, Millionaire Mailman, because those two words are diametrically opposed. You know, Millionaire and Mailman is kind of don't fit in the same sentence. So it generates interest.
Yeah, definitely.
People may not, you know, literally 20 years later, I talk to people that I spoke to in REIA clubs 20 years ago. They say, I don't really remember your name, but you're that Millionaire Mailman guy. They remember that part. So it's a good memory hook.
A lot of people talk about developing mailmen as bird dogs. Did you, you knew a lot of guys, obviously, when you were with the post office. Did you maintain, do you still use mailmen as bird dogs?
Yeah, everywhere. Whenever I go out, I have some CDs that I hand out. They're mailman handout CDs. They could take the CD and they could use it as a handout CD because when I was out on the when I was in the post office, I could just talk to my fellow comrades, right? The other mail carriers. And I would say, hey, listen, I know you're out there on your route, just like I am every day. But you drive by these things all day long. You see rundown houses with tall grass and newspapers in the driveway and pizza coupons stacked around the front doorknob. And, you know, the drapes in the front window are wide open. You can see there's no furniture in there. It's an empty house. That empty house is a valuable lead for me. So if you tell me about those empty houses, if I wind up buying it, I'll just give you $500 cash. You know, and they'd be like, you know, to a mailman, that's a lot of money. So, you know, they wait all year to get that in Christmas tips a lot of times. So they can get that from me. So that's how I found a lot of my deals was just on my mail routes, paying very close attention to who was a vacant property and who was not. And one more thing mailmen have, it's a little risky to ask this information, but you know, they maintain the forwarding records of where the people went to. So, you know, I would ask the mailman, hey, where'd the guy move to? And they'd say, oh, I got it right here. I get the information and I'd either send them a letter or I can call them. I couldn't Google their name. We didn't have that yet at that time. But a lot of people, even the neighbors, you know, whenever there's an empty house, you knock on a neighbor's door on both sides and say, hey, who was the family that left there? And they usually know. They know how to get in touch with them in a lot of cases too. So so that's how I got started. Really, I turned my mailman comrades into bird dogs. But getting into what the product does is you know, I was one day at a REIA luncheon and people were saying, how do you get some of your deals that no one else can get? And I told them the story about, like I just told you, and they said, well, we don't speak mailman. You know, that's like an official language, right? There's certain buzzwords and talk that if I go up to any mail carrier, I could right away in the first 10 seconds, I can warm up the conversation because I know the right things to say. So, but for a stranger, they wouldn't know the buzzwords and the lingo to say to a mailman. So I created this CD that says on the front of the CD, it says, how letter carriers are turning their routes into a real estate cash cow. And it spurs their interest, like, oh, I got to listen to this. And then I speak to them, mailman to mailman, and I tell them on the CD as they're listening to it that, you know, all day long you drive by these things, you see rundown houses, you see tall grass, you know, the garbage is not being picked up or whatever. You know, these are a good lead for a real estate investor, and you need to call the investor who wrote their name with a Sharpie on the CD and talk to them. And they'll tell you how you can network with them to earn some extra dollars. Another part of that is, okay, let's say I want to make this applicable to whoever is in attendance so they can take this and do it where they are. Well, I told you about, you know, finding leads with the mailman CD. I told you about, you know, developing mobile homes. And the other part of that is something that I myself didn't really even know about until about probably about 2 or 3 years ago, and that is cost plus building. So I started doing cost plus building. So basically the concept is, what you find a builder that you can work with that will track every expense down to the penny, a box of nails, even in building that house, and whatever the total cost is, he's just going to make a flat fee of 15%. Seems to be the industry average. So cost plus building is basically finding a builder that you can work with and throw, you know, regular business to, and you buy lots and just track down properties he can build on, and get him started. He, you know, if he's got a GC license and he's got his act together, he should be a big enough boy to handle his own contractors and take on the responsibility. So you don't have to have a project manager, really. He's your project manager. So it leaves you very hands off in the build, and you just focus on getting the property sold, you know, handling problems when they pop up, because every construction job's got some challenges here or there. And then and scouting more property that you can buy at a discount, if you can get it at a discount. If you got to pay full retail, I mean, there's areas just south of Sarasota where there's all the lots you can stand to buy for $7,000 to $15,000.
Yeah,
You know, it's not a lot of money. So if you can get yourself, you know, 4 or 5 lots in a year's time and build 4 or 5 houses, you know, you should be able to make, you know, your profit potential is about a third. If you're selling the house at $300,000, you should be able to make about $100,000 to cost plus houses. I have one home today. In fact, I got to check on my security camera, because I found these cool security cameras. They don't take any electric to run, and they don't take any Wi-Fi to run. You just strap them to a tree, and it's motion detected. So if anybody walks on the property, remember, there's no house there yet. It's just a lot in the woods. As long as the little solar panel is in the light, it keeps recharging the camera every day. So I have cinder blocks being delivered, and it's almost the end of the day right now. So I'm going to look on my security camera and see if the truck came and stacked all the blocks on the slab. So I don't even have to be there, and the job rolls on, you know. But if it costs me $300,000 to build the house, I can, in the area I'm in, I could, if I'm in for like 300,000, the builder's going to get 15% of that. So that's another 45. So I'm in, say, round it up, say 350. I can sell these houses for 550. That's $200,000 net profit. And I didn't have to do any of the work other than just find the lot. I mean, that's serious money. I don't know what a lot of people do in the audience, but you know, I mean, how many of those would you have to do a year to have a really nice income? I mean, even two would be well worth it. So
2 year at 400,000 in profit. That's going to
yeah,
change a lot of people's lives really fast.
yeah,
I think having a good trend like what you do and what you teach is a good thing to give. Right? Find the lots, they're there, build, sell, everything moves along quickly.
yeah.
You're in good shape. And if it's as simple as, you know, take your time to get the good contractor down and it's 15%, you know what your costs are, you're in good shape. All right, Tom, I'm excited. That sounds like it's going to be, I think people are going to learn an enormous amount. I think it's fun. It's exciting. It's interesting. It's different. And it helps people tap into what's happening, timed with the cycle where we're at now.
Yeah, I agree.